What's going on, Jerome's? The final preseason game is upon us tomorrow, noon, historic U.S. Bank Stadium on Saturday. And here are 11, I won't say. Actually, it's 12. Actually, it's like 17. Vikings who need to have themselves a big-time game on Saturday to establish themselves on the Rooster or the Vikings practice squad this season. Up number one, Jaren Hall. So, fifth-round pick, the pride of BYU, has shown some flashes in training camp, has been sort of whatever the first two preseason games. He's been 10 for 21 for 86 yards, 0 goose egg, D'Angelo Russell, touchdown, 0 interceptions as well. But he's been pressured on 46% of his dropbacks, and you really don't have a clear picture about what he can do. Now, he's got a big-time arm. I love the mature way that he handles himself, but we haven't seen him pop off. Like, we haven't seen him have a Aiden O'Connell or DTR type preseason, and we got to see something, because this is the last chance for romance for him, the last chance we're going to see him in action before next offseason. And the Vikings, I mean, they got to know if they have something that could be potentially the successor of Kirk Cousins, or if they got to go fish. TBD there. Next up, number 2. Quarterback Jordan Ta'amu. So recently signed at the beginning of this week, just in practice. Now, TBD if he's even going to play, but head coach Kevin O'Connell, I doubt that they're going to play the starters. I doubt that they're going to play the high-level second-team guys. And Kevin O'Connell said that Jaren Hall is going to play a lot on Saturday, and I think that Nick Mullins may potentially even sit. So Jaren Hall plays 3 quarters. Ta'amu gets a quarter with some very vanilla offense, but Ta'amu was the XFL Offensive Player of the Year. Does he do enough to keep himself in the fold on the practice squad? I think that it's a possibility. And also, I mean, with Jaren Hall, his game on Saturday could be the difference between protecting him on the 53 or subjecting him to waivers to get him onto the practice squad. I mean, there's a lot at stake for both Viking signal callers on Saturday. Next up, number 3, Dwayne McBride, 7th-round pick out of UAB, rushing champion, Blazer, that whole thing. Well, he's not going to stick around as kick returner, because that did not work out well. But he's got 12 carries for 33 yards, a not so great 2.8 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. And again, a lot of that could be on the offensive line. The second and third team units have been very poopy. And McBride, I mean, there have been some consternation that McBride could be RB1 by the end of training camp, and it hasn't really quite happened yet. And we got to see something where McBride isn't a running back that's a home run hitter. He doesn't have huge bursts, but he's got great balance. He's good after contact. He's good at avoiding contact for a larger running back, and he's shifty and he's patient. But we haven't seen something that's like, he could be the guy. I think as a right meow, it certainly is King. King Kennedy's been hurt, but Madison and Chandler as your 1-2 moving forward. Also, Aaron Dykes could be something as the kick returner if King Kennedy is still shelved. Next up, Vikings, 4 and 5 that need big-time games. So Tristan Jackson and Jalen Nailor, where, I mean, the Vikings offense at wide receiver, super deep. So right now it's Jefferson, Addison, KJ. Obviously, those are the top 3. I think that Brandon Powell and Jalen Reagor have really proven themselves, and they could be on the 53 if Jalen Reagor is not traded. But Jalen Nailor, I mean, Jalen Nailor had the inside track to be the wide receiver 4 at the start of training camp. Then he got hurt with the undisclosed lower leg injury. Well, I guess that is kind of disclosed. But just getting back into the swing of things this week, and can he show up and show out? I mean, he played really well at the end of last season, but can he do enough to secure himself a spot on the 53? Same thing with Tristan Jackson, where Tristan Jackson got hurt early in training camp, but last week he put up 2 catches for 10 yards on 3 targets against the Titans. But overall, he's had himself some great practices. Can he follow it up underneath the lights at U.S. Bank Stadium? Next up, number 6. Left tackle for Darren Lowe. So he's got high PFF grades, but he's allowed 6 pressures and 2 sacks. And you get some glimpses, some flashes that he can be a competent NFL backup. But the question is, can he be Darisaw and O'Neal swing backup tackle right now? I mean, Oli Udoh is in there, but Oli Udoh has mightily struggled in his first 2 preseason games, as well as has been whatever in joint practices, which is kind of surprising since he played well last season at his natural position right tackle. Blake Brandel has been in at guard. They've been testing him. He does have some backup tackle flexibility, but, I mean, the Vikings have one of the best tackle duos in the league in Darrisaw and O'Neal, but behind them, it's questionable. It really is. And I would love for Vederian Lowe to really step up and rise to the occasion and be Darrisaw's primary backup as well as the swing tackle for both spots. Next up, Viking number... Well, every second and third team offensive line, where they've been porous. Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall have been under duress consistently, both in training camp practice as well as in the preseason games. The running backs, I mean, they've had flashes of big-time plays, but their yards per carry are all sub-4, and it's been embarrassing up front. But, you know, the second-team offensive line of Lowe, Ali, Schlutman, Brandel, Udoh, I mean, they got to step it up because those guys are, I mean, if poop hits the fan, they got to step up and they got to be part of this starting unit. So, can a guy like Alan Ali, UDFA, who's worked his way up to the second team, can he make the 53? That's a big-time question. Has Schlutman done enough to secure himself his spot going forward? Could a guy like Jack Snyder or Josh Sokol rise up to the 53 or potentially on the practice squad? Can one of the nondescript tackles that the Vikings have picked up, Jared Williams, Christian DeLauro, Chim Okorafor, can they step up and be a dude that would be interesting on the practice squad going forward? TBD, but they got to do something because it's been, I mean, the Vikings have had offensive line issues top to bottom for years, but this was a clown show over the first 2 preseason games, man. Next up, Viking number 8 needs to step up. Sheldon Day. So Sheldon Day had himself a great game against the Tennessee Titans. Could he be this year's T.Y. McGill, that defensive lineman that really steps up in preseason, but eventually ends up elsewhere? T.Y. McGill currently on the Niners 90-man. But Sheldon Day had 5 pressures and a sack in preseason so far this year, 89.7 PFF grade. And I think that there could be a world where Sheldon Day is ahead of Ross Blacklock, is ahead of Jonathan Bullard. Jaquelin Roy is making the roster. But could there be a spot where Sheldon Day makes a 53? I think it's possible. Also, in the same vein, TJ Smith. I think the Vikings are very nebulous up front. It's TBD. Are they going to keep 5? Are they going to keep 6? Are they going to keep 7 defensive linemen up front? How many on the practice squad? We shall see. Next up, Viking number 9 who needs to step up. Outside linebacker Andre Carter II. Now, Carter did get himself $340K guaranteed, and he was a highly sought-after UDFA, but he started off training camp on the PUP, just got off of it about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and had sort of a pedestrian game in the preseason. So he's got 1 pressure on 17 pass rushing snaps so far, and you know, it's sort of tough watching him because he needs a lot of work, right? And you were betting on the potential when you got him. You could see why he could have been a mid-round pick because the upside is there. He's got great bend, but he needs to add strength. He needs to grow into an NFL body. Could it be a spot where they just keep him on the 53 and they keep 6 edge rushers, even though it's a numbers game? He would Daniil Davenport, Wanham, Jones, and Villain because they don't want to subject him to waivers and try and get him onto the practice squad. We got to see something. We got to see a little something. So a couple pressures, maybe a sack here or there. You would love to see it. Also, setting and maintaining the edge would be great too. Next up, player number 10 who needs to step up, quarterback Andrew Booth Jr. Yes. And yeah, we've been tough on Andrew Booth Jr., but I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. He's just got to get things together. Now, health has been an issue. Last year was ended by the meniscus injury, and he's been in and out of the lineup during training camp, but he's in there now. But it does seem like it's Blackman, Evans, Murphy Jr., and Jawan Williams as your front first 4 solidified. I think Jalen Williams gets in there too as the backup slot cornerback. So, and also Najee Thompson is going to get in there as a special teamer. So the Vikings really keep 7 cornerbacks, even though it's essentially 6 with Najee being a special teamer. But It's a tough question. And Kwesi traded up for Andrew Booth Jr. last year, number 42 overall. Is that enough to keep him around for year 2, or does he potentially get traded, or does he try and get stuffed out on the practice squad? He allowed a touchdown to Jake Bobo against the Seahawks, 59.2 PFF coverage grade. The skill set is there, man, but just could be a numbers game, as the Vikings are pretty thick at cornerback, which is kind of good to see. And lastly, players that got to step up, Jay Ward and Theo Jackson. Now, what's interesting is that the Vikings let go of N'Keal Harry and then signed safety Jake Gervais. Now, Gervais is much more of a special teams guy, but I think that he was signed because the Vikings are probably going to sit their top 4 safeties, with Harrison, Bynum, Metellus, and Lewis Seam being hurt in this final preseason game. So you want to have a little bit of insurance there at the safety position, and Theo Jackson, Jay Ward are probably going to start together. What's interesting is that I think that they would be competing for one 53-man roster spot. Now, obviously, you would love to have one of them on the practice squad, but I mean, Jay Ward was a 5th-round pick. Theo Jackson was a UDFA who came aboard last year, played some good special teams, and Theo Jackson's played well. Jay Ward has had his moments, so I think it's a very good problem to have. I mean, the Vikings defensive back room had a lot of questions coming in, but I like the way that the cornerback room has come around. I love how deep they are at safety, especially since Flores used multiple safeties. Metellus is basically a starter, so I like where things are headed as of right now, but both those guys do need to step up and have themselves a ball game on Saturday. But that's it. That's Vikings who need a big game on Saturday to solidify their spot on the rooster or on the practice squad. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.